The Arizona Christian terrorist party that has pretty much taken over that state has passed a, well, they didn't pass, but the legislators there, the Christian terrorists, the white male Christian terrorists, legislators, they have reinstated a law that was first put in place during the Civil War. And that law bans abortion in all circumstances. And Arizona Democrats vowed over the weekend they're going to fight for a woman's right to privacy because of that ruling. Candidates for various offices in Arizona were silent a day after the ruling. I think that was Friday. And the ruling says this law was written during the Civil War, and it was upheld by the courts there. The ruling says that the state of Arizona can prosecute doctors and others who assist with an abortion. Kari Lake, the Christian terrorist and former newsreader on television, she's the Christian terrorist candidate for governor. And Blake Masters, another fascist little prick who is running for the Senate. Both of these are Christian terrorists. They had no comment. Now, Katie Hobbs and Chris Mays, the Democratic nominee for governor and attorney general, respectively, these two women implored other, come on, Mike, implored other women not to sit on the sidelines this year, for God's sake. They're saying that the ruling by this court, thanks to the Christian terrorists' machinations in that state, the ruling sets women back more than a century. And it goes back to an era when only men had the right to vote, and only white men, not Native people, not enslaved people, only white men. And that's what the court in Arizona, I'm sure it was a Trump-appointed judge, although I don't know, but it sounds like something that would come from one of those bastards. Ms. Hobbs, Katie Hobbs, who's running for governor as a Democrat, said during a news conference, quote, "We cannot let Kari Lake hold public office and have the power to enact extreme anti-choice policies that she spent her entire campaign touting. As Arizona's governor, I will do everything in my power and use every tool at my disposal to restore abortion rights in Arizona." And again, I maybe I'm the only one who is just tired of seeing the word abortion, although I know that's the key issue around which this whole disagreement is centered. But as I've said so many times, to me, it's a much bigger issue. I mean, my God, this is a woman's right to privacy and control of her own body. I mean, I just wish that Katie Hobbs, the Democratic nominee for governor, would use that term. Am I crazy? I mean, if these Democratic candidates and politicians would stop saying a woman's right to choose or a woman's right to an abortion and just reframe it and just say, look, this is much bigger than that. This is a woman's right to privacy. This is the nose of the camel, so to speak, under the tent flap. This is telling women that white males on all levels of government have a right to deny them the privacy and the sovereignty over their own bodies. And this is only the first step. I mean, this is so much more than an issue about abortion. Maybe they have to use the term abortion in order to break through the brain fog that so many people in this country have, especially on the left, the center left, the Democrats. This brain fog where they think, oh, well, okay, we've talked about it, so now it's all going to go away, restrictions on abortion. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. So maybe they have to use the term abortion. Anyway, this ruling by the court it's said it presents a new hurdle for Republicans who are already struggling to navigate the abortion politics. You know how so many of these Christian terrorists who still want to call themselves Republican, how they've been shouting and farting and wheezing against abortion during the entire campaign season until the Supreme Court ruled what it ruled. Then all of a sudden they all try to backpedal. You bastards. But it does fire up Democrats and does refocus attention away from the Christian terrorist attacks on Joe Biden and what's happening at our southern border and inflation that Biden has absolutely no control over whatsoever. And in Arizona, we're only 3 weeks away from the start of early voting and mail-in voting, which are very popular in Arizona because there's an awful lot of old people that live there. It's a very popular way of voting. Now, this I found interesting. According to the Associated Press, abortion rights, and there it is again, but what the hell, I guess I'll go with their terminology. Abortion rights are particularly important among suburban women. And suburban women, of course, play a pretty decisive role in close elections in Arizona. I don't quite get that. Suburban women. Why not just women, period? Is it because non-suburban women don't care? It could be learned powerlessness that so many women who are not part of that suburban demographic just feel they don't have any power anymore. I don't know. But it would seem to me that it's not just suburban women, but it's all women. A Republican consultant said this, quote, in Arizona, with a draconian abortion law in effect today, I think you will see suburban women take a real look at Democratic candidates and who promise to do something, even if it's not in their power, end quote. That's according to a Republican consultant. Sounds like he is, what's the expression, damning with faint praise, like, okay. He admits it's a draconian abortion law. And maybe, just maybe, suburban women will take a real look at Democratic candidates. You think? Now, the truth is, in Arizona, Democratic candidates here in the Democratic Party have poured tens of millions of dollars into the television advertising focused on abortion rights. And according to reports, women have been registering to vote in greater numbers than men, not just in Arizona, but across the country. Well, if it took this issue to get women, men, black, white, Jew, Gentile, whoever, if it took this issue to get people off their asses and register to vote, that's step one. Step two is to go ahead and vote. I mean, I am so sick of seeing praise heaped on people in this country when 57% of us go to the polls and vote, as if that's a big deal. And the horror is it has been a big deal. The figure should be 97%. The figure should be 100%. But dear God, if it takes this issue to get people to register and then to go vote, okay. Now, this law that is prompting people to react, the way they're reacting, it was first enacted, get this, it was part of a set of laws known as the Howell, Howell, the Howell Code. And it was adopted by the first Arizona territorial legislature in 1864. And researchers in that state said it remained in the penal code in 1901 and was readopted in subsequent rewrites of the Arizona Penal Code, including in the late 1970s. I mean, where the fuck were people in the late 1970s? This was after Roe v. Wade. So where were people in Arizona when part of their legal system, the penal code, was being rewritten to say no more abortions, no more freedom for women to make decisions about their own reproductive choices, no more sovereignty for women, no more privacy for women about the most intimate part of their lives. Yeah, where were they? And then Carrie Lake, who is the Christian terrorist candidate for governor, she called this Arizona territory ban on abortion from 1864, she called it, quote, a great law that's already on the books. And she said that abortion was the ultimate sin. And she's also saying that the so-called abortion pills should be illegal. I mean, well, I'll just let that stand on its own. Over to Masters, this crazy son of a bitch. Blake Masters, one of Trump's boys. Masters called a woman's right to privacy, quote, demonic. End quote. So if you're a woman in Arizona and you demand a right to privacy, you're conducting yourself like a demon. I mean, there should be no doubt about the allusions to Christian terrorism that pop up in these candidates' speeches and observations and comments. They are Christian terrorists. But Blake Masters called women who want the right to privacy demons. He also called for a federal personhood law that would give fetuses the rights of people. I mean, what the fuck? Come on. Fetuses, parasitic blobs of undifferentiated cells, stem cells, inside the most private, deepest part of a woman's physical being, in addition to her emotional and spiritual and psychological being. And Blake Masters calls those women's demons if they want to control that process, and wants a law that would say these clumps of undifferentiated cells should have the same right as you do right now, this moment. This is madness. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.